If you saw my last video, then you already know what we're cooking with today. We have already batch prepped beans, grains, and lots of veggies. So I'm gonna show you some simple, easy ways to jazz them up and make them into yummy meals. And with that, let's get started. So we are going to start with breakfast today, and we are gonna start by adding some of our white beans into a smoothie. Now just hear me out on this one. I love adding beans into a smoothie because it gives you a fiber and protein boost, and honestly, with all the fruit in there, you can't even taste the beans. So for this smoothie, we're gonna add 1 cup of beans, 1 cup of frozen cauliflower, 2 cups of berries, 2 teaspoons amla powder, 2 tablespoons flax, half a tablespoon dragon fruit powder, 3 frozen bananas, and 3 cups of water. And I like to make larger quantities of a smoothie and then freeze it so I have it to drink later in the week. That means I only have to wash the blender 1 time. And there are a couple ways you can do this. You can freeze it into individual little cubes and then pop them out, add it to some plant milk or some water, or even just let them defrost in your glass, and then your smoothie will be ready to go. Or you can even freeze it directly into a travel mug. I'm just using this glass jar. Do make sure you leave some room at the top for expansion, and then the night before you're going to drink it, just pop it into the refrigerator and let it defrost a bit. Up next, we are going to make a grain breakfast bowl. Now, this recipe doesn't have beans, although you could definitely add beans if you wanted to. If any of you have seen Dr. Greger's brol recipe, B-R-O-L, then you'll know that he is all about adding beans into your breakfast bowl. But I'm just keeping it simple today and using the rye berries that we already batch cooked, and you can top them basically the same way that you would your oatmeal. So I'm going to add in some soy milk, some chia, of course, some berries, and you can even do some banana on top if you want to. So I think this bowl is really delicious and a great way to use up some of the grain that we already batch cooked. Next, we'll be making a hummus pita. If you remember that basil hummus that we made in the batch prep, we are going to use that in our pita. But first, we're going to make a cashew bean tzatziki to go inside there as well. Now, this of course is optional. You could totally just leave it with the basil hummus if you wanted to, but this tzatziki is so good. I highly recommend you guys try it out. You could even make a thinner version, just add a little bit more water and use it as a salad dressing. It is delicious. So for the tzatziki, we're just going to soak some cashews in boiling water first and let them soften a bit. And we're also going to add some of these sprouts that we started in the batch prep video. These have been growing on the counter for about 5 days now, and they are ready to eat, so we're gonna add some to our pita. Now this sandwich could even be made into a salad if you prefer to do this on like a bed of greens. Of course, you could thin out that tzatziki like I said before and make it into a salad dressing. Or if you wanted to add even more beans into this meal, you could actually do lentil wraps instead of pita. I do have a recipe video for that. I will link it in the description box down below if you want to check it out. Next up, we're going to make some tostadas, and we are going to start with the black bean portion of this recipe. Now I have shared this black bean dip in a recipe video before, but it is honestly so good, I had to share it with you guys again. And not only that, it is super versatile. The last time I shared it, I showed it as a dip, but it can also be a filling for enchiladas, for taquitos, for burritos, in a burrito bowl, or like I'm going to use it today, in tostadas. So today I'm just making a double batch of that recipe, and of course I will leave that original recipe video in the description box below as well. Up next, we are going to make a broccoli cheddar soup, and this is probably my favorite of the white bean recipes. I love a good creamy soup, and beans are such a great way to add thickness and creaminess. Plus you get all the health benefits of beans and you won't even be able to taste them. So this is another great one for those of you who are looking for recipes that kind of hide the beans, because we are going to blend them right into the broth. Up next, we're going to make a lentil mushroom curry. And now this recipe can be made with a bunch of different kinds of beans. I did have those lentils to use up. As I showed you guys in the batch prep, I had taken them out of the freezer, so they were ready to use. And I also had a lot of mushrooms. And I just find the easiest way to use up some leftover beans or veggies is to use them in either a soup or a curry. Both of those options are so versatile, and you can really add in any kind of leftover veggies you have. So I'm just making a very simple red curry using this Thai curry paste. And now you can serve this with the grain that you've already batch prepped for the week, or like we do have the pita for the pita sandwiches, so you could use that if you prefer. And then our last recipe today is going to be a beanie bolognese sauce, and this is another great one if you want to hide your beans. My husband is not a big fan of beans at all, and I made this for him and he was like, there were beans in this? He honestly didn't even notice. And for this one, I'm going to use white beans, but if you didn't have white beans, you could also use something like brown lentils or red lentils. And I'm just using regular wheat pasta here, but if you wanted to up the beans even more, you could use something like a chickpea pasta or a red lentil pasta or a black bean pasta. And if you've never seen those options in your grocery store before, I'm gonna link some of them down below so you can check them out if you want. Now, if you missed the batch prep video, I'm gonna link that right here so you can watch that and learn what I did to prepare for all of these recipes. Or if you've already seen that and now you're looking for the red lentil wrap recipe video, I'm gonna link that one right here and you can watch that instead. And with that, let's eat plants, and I'll see you guys next time.